Hello friends, Pete the drummer here, and today we are going to check out the smallest castle in the world. So friends, today I am once again in Palisades Park. I don't think I'm across the New Jersey state line just yet, but I'm not sure exactly what town this is. But I parked at the State Line Lookout parking lot slash visitor center slash cafe and walked south on the long path. This is the long path. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, I've done 2 or 3 other videos here in Palisades Park where I explored some of the other ruins. Then you will know that the long path runs north and south all through the Palisades Park. And the blazes for the long path are these kind of greenish, teal, blue, whatever. Anyway, as I explained in at least a couple of those videos, Palisades Park in the late 1800s and up until the early 1900s used to be populated, peppered with big grand mansions and vacation houses, and it used to be known as $1 Million Mile back when all the millionaires lived up and down the Palisades. But Palisades Park sits on the same type of bedrock that Manhattan sits on, which is called basalt. And in the late 1800s and into the early 1900s, they used to mine and quarry the basalt rock down along the river. And at one time, there was apparently a big explosion, and that kicked off the efforts to preserve the Palisades Cliffs and to claim it and turn it into the park that it is today. Key in obtaining the preservation, the rights to preserve Palisades Cliffs as a state park, was the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs. And they joined other interested groups to fight for the legislation to protect the Palisades. And they did that back in 1897. And with the help of New Jersey Governor Voorhees and then New York Governor Teddy Roosevelt, they were able to stop the quarrying and preserve all of the Palisades Cliffs and eventually turn it into the state park. In honor of the efforts of the Women's Federation, they built, for some kind of weird reason, they built this little castle. Now, of course, I don't know if this is the smallest castle in the world, but it's definitely a castle, and it is definitely small. Look how teeny tiny it is. Now, unfortunately, this lower room is locked, and we can't go in there. It doesn't, I mean, there's nothing in there. I don't know if you can see that. Let me flip the camera around and get a better look. So as you can see, this gate, this wrought iron gate, is locked. But if you look inside, you can see there's a little more of a room in there, but there's nothing in there. So unfortunately, the lower room is locked and we can't get in there. However, we can go upstairs and check out the view. So let's do that. These stairs are kind of steep. And once you're up here, there's a nice little viewing platform offering a nice view of the Hudson River, looking north. I'm not sure exactly what town that is across the way. can't see, we're too far north of Manhattan. Even if these trees weren't here, we wouldn't be able to see any of Manhattan. But if you're down there and maybe just a little bit further looking north, you can see the Tappan Zee Bridge, the new Tappan Zee Bridge. And so just to give you, I may do this downstairs, that might be better, but just to give you an idea of how small this platform really is. I mean, this castle is tiny. I think I'll do that again once I'm downstairs to really give you an idea of just how small this place is. I will prop my camera here. Okay. So there you have it. Just another of the many, many interesting things that you can see in the Palisades Park cliffs along the long path. Teal Blaze. Let me just break into the video here. As I mentioned that the Palisades cliffs were and are lined with ruins. This is one of them. You can see these stairs here and this viewing platform, but what is the viewing platform looking at? Well, look, that's going north. These are all the cliffs that I just walked down. Now, of course, while you're watching this video, it's all kind of seamless, but I'm actually filming this right now about 2 hours after I finished and did the outro and all that stuff that you're going to see in a minute. But since I mentioned ruins, and I continued my hike after I finished filming at the little castle, I couldn't not show you guys this. So this is just one of many little viewing platforms that you can get to as you hike along the long path. Now this particular one is fenced off, but it's an easy enough fence to get through if you just do one of those. And right next to this viewing platform are the ruins of an old mansion. Let's check these out. Look at this. See all these foundation walls? Isn't that cool? Now that's not the best example. The best example of ruins along the Palisades Cliffs is Cliff Dale Manor. One of the first videos I ever did here on this YouTube platform was from Cliff Dale Manor. So I will link that video in the description. But before we finish the little castle video, let me show you a couple of other examples of what you might see when you're hiking along the long path. So this is one. I don't know who used to own this or who used to live here, but it's clear that this area is where the house was and that they built this little section here where you could get right down to that viewing platform and enjoy a nice view. But here's another cool example. So here's another example. Certainly not the best example of the ruins that you'll see when you're here, and of course it's not really translating well on camera, but you can see this stone wall here, and it right angles to that stone wall there. That right there is obviously a little bit of an entrance, but what's cool is some other explorers in the area have found a couple of old artifacts and left them here. This looks like, well, it looks like it used to be a wheel. Got an old wheel hub here. And right next to it, some kind of round thing. I don't know if this was a wheel necessarily, but just laying here. Pretty cool. but there's more to see. So here's another cool example of some old ruins. Now I can't quite make out where in the woods here the foundation of the house would have been, but look at this. Right down this little path is this cool old concrete and steel bridge with a couple of little stairs right there. Check this out. Go down these couple of little stairs and right across this old concrete bridge. And what am I crossing? Look down there. Now you can't, the camera doesn't show it, do it justice really, but down to the bottom there, that's got to be 100, 150 feet. And then as you continue on this little bridge, you come to a natural clearing of some rocks and eventually to a nice viewpoint. Not as nice as that platform before, but still a pretty good viewpoint with no barriers either, which means if you're not terribly careful. Anyway, pretty cool. And another example of some of the cool old stuff that you can see when you're hiking along the Palisades. But there's one more thing I want to show you. Now this is the Palisades Park Police Headquarters and Palisades Park Commission Headquarters. The Commission takes up the second floor. The police take up the first floor. But this house was built in the early 1900s and used to be a private home. And you can see the main house there. Looks like a more recent addition to the left, and the carriage house / garage is right there to the right. But this is an example of what the estates may have looked like. Certainly not all of them looked like this, but you can see in the stonework there of the main house, it's very similar to Cliff Dale Manor. So yeah. There you go. Cool new Mazda 3 hatch. Love it. Alright, so now finally let's finish up the tiny castle video. So, FYI, the long path, like I said, runs up and down the entire Palisades Park. And it goes way beyond. It goes way up into the Adirondacks. I think. I'm not sure. Up into upstate New York. So, when you're coming up Palisades Parkway, there's a few areas where you can pull off and hop onto the long path to go hiking. Today, like I said at the top of the video, I drove up to the State Line Lookout, which is just north of exit 4, I think. Not sure. And then I walked south on the long path until I got to the monument there. So thank you as always for watching. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, take a hike.